All right, welcome back, everybody, to a new episode of Hidden Gems. This is the video series where I talk about those books that are still hidden away, possibly at your LCS, in those back issue boxes. Just things that are just kind of ignored, forgotten about, maybe underpriced, things that might actually sell for a bit more than you might expect, or just some cheap little finds that you can get that fit like a little bit of a criteria that I come up with. I have a bunch of different categories now as we run through this from different types of books that you can go out there and collect. I'm trying to reach as many different types of collectors as I can, from the newer collectors to the seasoned vets, to give everybody a little something that they can go and hunt when you go digging in those back issue bins. Sure, some of this stuff you might find in a dollar bin, but that's not the point. This is more looking for those priced books that might be in those priced back issues that you might oftentimes just ignore because you think there's nothing there. They've been dug through. Everybody has found everything. That's not always the case, because not everybody's looking for some of this stuff that could actually be quite valuable these days. That all said, hopefully you're enjoying this series as well as everything else here on the channel. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you don't miss anything. Keep telling your friends so we can keep growing the channel as we keep getting closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers. We will be doing another big giveaway once we start getting closer to that another little milestone for the channel. Now, if you want to see what books I have for you this week, just hang on for a few seconds after the intro, and I will be right back. All right, so for this week, we will start off, as we have been these last few weeks, with our little mini quick artist retrospective. Just spotlighting an artist, giving you a little bit of a rundown on some of their books and things that you might be able to find out there, and just, give you a quick summary of who they are as an artist. Now, the artist I want to talk about this week is, if I'm going to say it right, Raza. Raza. Not sure how you say it. Don't even have a picture for the artist. Don't know what they look like. So this is all I got for you. Just pointing this book out here because this is one of the more valuable variants that you can find for Raza these days. This Miles Morales variant for issue 13. This is sort of I think it was a qualifying order incentive cover for the 2020 variants. This is not an incentive variant, but it's still a pretty tough book and still a pretty expensive book to come by. But I picked this book as sort of our little feature to give you a good sense of who we're talking about and why we're talking about Raza this week. Also had the distinction of doing the end of a few other popular series from the last issue of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, which I brought up before. That sells pretty well, issue 47, as well as the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, issue 50. There was a B cover that Raza did that you could also make a couple of bucks on if you can find one for cheap in digging in those boxes. But those aren't the books we're here to talk about, nor are these next books, which are actually some of the Star Wars books that Raza has done, including this very pricey these days Thrawn #3. Really cool cover. I love the art. I love the art style here. This more recent 1 in 25 for Star Wars 22. And then I think that Mace Windu was a 1 in 10. It looks like a photo cover, but it isn't. These are art. This is art. This is quality stuff, including this connecting set that ran through the Crimson Dawn event series, I guess you want to call it, with Star Wars. I'm not sorry, Crimson Dawn. Crimson Rain. Crimson Dawn. But Crimson Rain, you can see these connecting covers with all these Knights of Ren characters. Another cool set and something to go and look for. Now, who knows where these things might go? Set collectors will be looking for ones they miss, so certain issues might become harder to find as days go by on this particular set, but I'm pretty sure you can get these relatively for an affordable price still these days. But those are still not the books that I want to talk about for Raza. We're going to start with, which is what I think is the beginning, which is the first comic book that I could find done, or at least credited Raza as the artist, and that is this Moon Girl book from Red 5 Comics. Not the Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur that you're thinking of. This issue of Moon Girl, I believe, is based on the IP that Old School. It's probably a public domain character now, I guess. It's been so long, that Golden Age character of Moon Girl, but updated, updated for the 2011 time frame, because this was out in 2011. This is the first credited work that I could find out there. If there's an earlier book, please let me know. Mention it in the comics. Mention it in the comments. But from far as I can tell, this was the earliest book that I could find for Raza, and it does all right. It's not a super duper expensive book. I mean, $8 here or there for this Red 5 title isn't too bad for actual sales. But if you're going hunting, there's none out there right now. I went looking and there are none. So while it is only sold for $8, there are none out there. So could be a tough one to find because again, Red 5 isn't the most popular publisher out there. So the print run was probably not too big. So with that all said, good luck if you want to go hunt for that early, if not first, Raza work. Another early book that gained some notoriety. Granted, this is 5 years after this. This is 5 years later at Marvel. This Run the Jewels second print for Black Panther for issue 2. Awesome cover. Actually, I got an extra one around here. Or did I already send it to Marco? This is a great cover if you can find it. It does all right, so keep an eye out for it if you can. If you can track this one down. It is a second print for Black Panther #2, but it's just a really cool cover. And Raza's done like a bunch of like hip hop covers and a bunch of cool stuff. But this one you can see sells, by like the 15 to $20 kind of range are the more recent sales. It was higher at one point. This was more of a $25 book for a long stretch of time, 25, 30. So prices are down a little bit right now, but you can see the asking prices are more in that 25 to 30 range that I remembered. It's just there are some cheaper copies, and when I guess they're listed for a little bit cheaper, the undercutters are actually selling their books, whereas everybody else is kind of being patient and waiting these other ones out, I guess. And you can see a 9.8 there is also asking 130 for that particular second print. Again, it's second print, so this is one of those little things we could have put in the second print subsection of this show, but we're doing it in the artist retrospective part because we're covering Raza, who had a pretty decent run on the Weapon X series that came out in 2018. Well, not came out, but in that 2017, 2018 kind of range. There's a decent run of Weapon X covers that Raza did, but they don't sell. These aren't very expensive, but these are cool things you can probably find out there for very cheap, if not in the dollar bins. So I would definitely go and look for these because these are just kind of cool covers. The World Best Boss for Sabretooth is kind of a fun cover, as well as a couple of these others with the the joint sickle, and then you got Sabretooth on fire. Just gorgeous, gorgeous covers that you can still get for pretty cheap. So I would keep an eye out for these. Looking at these types of covers online, you're not going to see a lot of sales for them. I was specifically looking for this issue 17. Couldn't find any recent sales, but when you go looking for listing prices, these types of books that I'm talking about here, even online, they're like $2 to $9, and even that $9 is with free shipping, so it's really $2 to $5. It's cover price or less for the most part for a lot of these Weapon X books because there's not a lot of spec behind this. There's not a lot of heat or people looking at these, so you might find those in the super cheap boxes, but who knows? Just something you can find, you could find to get a decent cover art for this particular artist if you're looking. In addition to that, Raza is also at least known to me for doing a lot of those awesome WWE covers. I know we talked a bit about him before. We covered on the tax show. Seems like a couple of months ago now. Some of those WWE incentive variants. But apart from the incentive variants, there are some regular cover A's that Raza did, like this WWE Forever from Boom. This issue 1. You got Junkyard Dog. You got Ric Flair. You got Andre the Giant. Roddy Piper. Awesome wrestlers, classic characters, and just perfect likenesses too. Like these look like the characters. These look like the characters. These look like the wrestlers. And then other A covers, the Survivor Series from 2017. You got Hitman and Lesnar and Goldberg, and you got the 2018 WrestleMania special with Ricky the Dragon, Steamboat, Macho Man. Again, these look like the actual wrestlers. Raza's got a very good handle on doing photorealistic almost covers. And even some of these regular cover A's, which you may find just, again, they're regular covers. These aren't incentives yet. So these might just be found in a box. So if you go digging them out in a box, you might do all right. I mean, they mostly sell for around that cover price, $3 to $5. But some of the asking prices could be a little bit higher, asking 8 to 20, because these are, pretty decent and not the easiest thing to find. Because even with the WWE comics and from Boom, the print runs, again, are not that high. These weren't, 50,000, print runs. These are probably closer to that 10,000, if that sort of print run, probably under. So definitely a lower print on these WWE comics than some of the Marvel books you might be digging out. And again, the one book you might also know for him that's gotten a lot of heat around it lately, a lot of talk, people have talked about this book apart from me and Marco, but this Iron Sheik cover is one of his best, I think. It's just really cool. It captures the character. It's a Sheik, and like I said, you got Roddy Piper, and you got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. These are a number of high ratio incentives. These are like 1 in 30s, 1 in 40s, some tough books to find, but prices could be kind of all over the place for these things. Example, Iron Sheik. As I said, you might have heard a lot of other people talking about this book, but you can see it sold $100, just under $100, not too bad. And I believe this is a 1 in 30, and near the end of the run, I want to say it's a 1 in 30. Could be a 1 in 40, but I think it's a 1 in 30. But the one listed right now is asking a healthy $900. I mean, good luck to the seller. It's got 10 watchers on it, so there's people keeping an eye on it. But I don't know, selling close to $100 makes more sense to me than 900. But hey, it's your money. If you want to go spending it, you spend it however you want. I won't tell you what to do. I'm just telling you I'm not buying it. That said, one I do keep an eye out for, but haven't come across or haven't gotten lucky enough to pick it up when it's been listed at a price that I was looking for it because I forget. It's just one of those things. Your brain goes in and out of some of these books and you just forget about them for a stretch. And then you realize, man, had I been paying attention, I could have gotten this for cheaper. And that was issue 22. This is issue 24 of the series. I think this is also a 1 in 30. This is George the Animal Steel. I remember being a fan of his when I was a kid just because he was so crazy. He was just eating the turnbuckle was just a classic image, and we get it here. And then with the green tongue, I don't know. I just will never forget George the Animal Steel. Because like I said, it's one of those classic wrestlers from when I was a kid. And this book, you can see some of got this kind of cheap. $21 got a lot of 5 different WWE comics. So you break that down, that's like $4 or $5 a book. So getting this for like $4 or $5 is a steal, if you ask me. Even buying it now for $30 for this 1 in 30 ain't too bad because this is not an easy book to find. And yeah, even the ones out there right now are surprisingly not as expensive as I would have thought. I thought this would also be asking like $100, but it's only asking 45 to 50. 9.4 asking 60. Hammond and Hawn thinking about it because, like I said, I like this one. I don't think there's any like spec behind this where you're going to go and say, you know what, there's going to be a George the Animal Steel biopic down the line that people are going to be hunting for this book. So that's not a reason I'm saying that I would be looking for this. I just like the wrestler. I like the cover. I like the art. I'd like to add it to my collection. And I think the rarity and the toughness behind it might make it more interesting over time, especially for set collectors if people are collecting the sets of these ratio incentive wrestlers. Especially if you want to collect all the Rahzzah covers. Could be tough to get them all. But that all said, that's my little artist retrospective, my little quick artist retrospective on Raza. And we're going to shift to another subset category, and we're going to move on over to later prints. Still kind of lingering with some of these ideas. First up, we've got from last week. Last week, Chasing Ghosts, I believe I did some Dakin a little bit in there. So Dakin, Dark Wolverine #1, this second print cover. It's surprisingly not that easy to find. I didn't know about it until, again, researching other things. I ran across it and was like, ooh, this is another one to keep an eye out for. So let's look at this one. None sold recently. So we have no records of any recent sales. And I think the reason why is because the asking prices are pretty steep right now. $90, $150, $250. So the cheapest one I could, or actually I shouldn't say the cheap. I think there's one that's a little bit cheaper, but this is just kind of the broad strokes kind of range. I think there might have been one that's like 80, like 78 something and change, but still 90 to 250 is really that kind of range that people are asking for this book raw right now. Second print, probably pretty tough. I haven't seen it. I didn't know about this one until coming up with ideas the last couple of weeks. And now this is one that's on my radar to keep an eye out for. And you probably should too. Not at these prices. Again, that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is to show you the value of some of these books that maybe you can find this stuff cheaper at your shops, because this isn't a book. No one's really talking up, or you're talking up Dakin right now. Dakin, however you say his name. This is not the thing that people are going to the shop asking for. So these are the things that could be underpriced in the shop, just not cared about because it's just a second print on a #1 of a run that nobody's really talking about. Nobody really cares. So you could get lucky depending where you're hunting. That's all I'm saying, and why I'm covering these types of books, just in case you can get lucky when you're digging in those boxes. So some things to keep an eye out for. Another second print that I want to talk about, and this one I did know about, because I do have one. It took me a while to find one, but I did find one eventually. This X-23 #1, pretty cool cover with all the flames, and you got Wolverine, and you got X-23, obviously. Really cool cover. I did find this one, and this one still does all right. It was pretty hot there for a little while when the Logan movie was out. X-23 was all the rage. Even now, you could somebody lucked into one at $850. Sometimes you got to look at how things are listed. They don't list second print. They just list X23 1 cover E, because yes, maybe it is listed as cover E on various sites that are trying to differentiate these books, but second print's not in the title. So you just got to know, just like when you flip it through a box, you got to know it, because it's not going to be always obvious or in your face, like listed. Like, you're not going to get a lot of information. So that's why I'm trying to provide you the information so you know it when you go digging yourself. Because $50 is more what I would have expected for this book to sell for, because that's kind of where it's been for a good long stretch now. That said, what is available on this book right now? 70, 75, 80 bucks. Like I said, that's kind of the range and what I expected this book to be asking for, because that's kind of where it's been for a couple of years now. Not the easiest book to find, but they're there. They're out there. So just keep an eye out for them, and maybe you get lucky. And hopefully you can find one for cheaper than those prices. But if you do, either you got yourself a bargain, you got yourself a steal, or you got something you might be able to even turn and flip if that's what you decide to do. I mean, you hobby how you want to hobby. We all have to sell books, occasionally, just so we can buy other books, right? Or at least I do. That said, another thing I like, and I always like to bring up, and I'm sure you've kind of realized this over the last few weeks, is I like connecting covers. I don't know why. I guess it's the collector in me building a set. Just that idea that I got to get all the pieces to this puzzle is kind of something that appeals to me. So the next three that I'm going to cover all have a connecting cover for these second prints. And that's for this Omega Effect series that ran through, Punisher number 10 is the one in the middle, so I'm starting there. Punisher number 10, I think it was Avenging Spider-Man. I think it's Avenging Spider-Man number 9 and Daredevil number 11, and they all come together to form this Omega Effect connecting cover with the characters there, in the letters in the background. Kind of a cool effect. A lot of white on these, so it's going to be tough to find these clean and in high grade if you're digging in any sort of cheap boxes, but maybe find these bagged and boarded for, cover price or thereabouts. Who knows? I'm just pointing it out in case you go out there digging. Maybe you can find them, because prices on these, just like a lot of these things, can be wildly inconsistent. And here we go with just examples. So Punisher 10, you can see best offer on 12 bucks. Daredevil 11 sold for 12 bucks. And then a whole set sold for $34 for the three of them. So you're looking at maybe $10 to $15 each on these things. So again, they're not setting the world on fire. These aren't huge investment books. These aren't things that I think are going to be, $1,000 one day in 9.8 or anything like that. Just kind of a cool little thing to hunt, and things you might be able to find just tucked away in a box for cheap, and a little set that you can go and hunt, because it's only 3. So it's not a lot. You only got to hunt down 3 books to kind of complete it. But, good luck if you decide to try it. Available copies, again, copies listed $10 to $15, as I kind of mentioned. It seems to be the roundabout price, and sets could go up to about $60 as far as asking goes. So good luck if you want to go look for that set of second prints. Just, again, fun little information, things you might not be aware of that are out there, so you know what you're looking at. Because sometimes when you find these connecting words, you don't know how many words are in that set. It's like, God, it could be like 6 or 8 covers, and it can go on and connecting this long sentence. But no, this is just 3, the Omega Effect. Up next, we do have my nostalgia picks. Now, for nostalgia this week, I want to look at something that's near and dear to my heart. I did I think my last toy video on this series, and there is a 6-issue comic run as well for Visionaries. Visionaries, Knights of the Magical Light. I loved these toys when I was a kid. They're cool. They had interchangeable like chest plates with little holograms. They had helmets and weapons, and these staffs that also had holograms on them. I just thought they were the coolest thing. These mystical knights, and they had pretty cool vehicles. It was a great toy line. Comic wise, there was only 6 comics, and this is the giant size first issue 1 from Marvel or Star Comics that I'm sure I found these plenty of times in the dollar bin, but you could find these still tucked away in probably regular back issue bins as well. Probably not for that much money. So keep an eye out for them, because there are a couple that do all right. Granted, issue 1 doesn't do that much. It's $8 to $10 for the most part, and you can see that full set selling for about $65. Again, there's only 6 issues, so $8 to $10 for issue 1, because it was number 1. It was the most heavily printed, and it's not too surprising to me. And when you look online, yes, there's even copies, may not be near mint, for as cheap as $5.50, and then some nicer copies in newsstand might run you up to $18, as you can see there. And then other might be asking higher than that $65 for the set. So sets could be anywhere in that kind of like $50 to $100 range to round out this 6-issue set if you get all 6 of them. Issues 2, 3, and 4 are also kind of in that same range as issue 1. Not the most desired books in the world. These are just kind of run filler types. So you can probably find these again in those cheap boxes. Those dollar boxes help you round out that set, because the two that are probably going to cost you a little bit extra if you try to complete the Visionaries run are the last 2 issues, because they are the lowest printed last issues of the run, issues 5 and 6. So let's just take a quick look at those. This is issue 5. I mean, this is a new standard version. You can see the bear there. Again, the power, they had these like animal like creatures that were like their inspiration. So this dude got as strong as a bear. That was kind of like his power set as one of the mystical knights. And I don't know. I thought it was cool as a kid. So I still think it's kind of cool. But that said, issue 5 can sell for, well, here again, another set. Well, actually not a set. This was issue 1 through 5 that they called a set, but it's not a full run. It's only the 5 issues for 46 bucks, and then only $12 or so plus shipping for issue 5, which is actually a decent price, because when you look at some of the asking prices for this one, you see it's a little bit more. It could be $10, but then it could also be $45. So while the wide range there of prices depending on condition and what you're looking for these books, because again, these toy type comic books or well loved is the best way to put it. There's not going to be a lot that are in great shape. These have been jammed into those dollar boxes and just beat to hell, rolled up, crumbled, spines ticked up. You're going to find a lot of very good copies out there. But with that all said, that's issue 5, which, yeah, again, it could run you a couple extra bucks. But again, the number 6 and the final issue, as I mentioned, like the last issues, is going to be one of the harder and more expensive to find. And even says it right there on the front, last issue, issue 6, the final flight of Rahzzah there. This one has sold as recently as well, in April. Again, somebody got one for like 12 bucks, and sets running in that $45 kind of range. But the asking prices on this one could be $15 or $100. You never know. So it's all in the timing. So just keep that in mind as well. Prices can go all over the place. This book and the issues 5 and 6, for the longest time, I remember 5 being like a $20 book, and issue 6 being like a $30 to $40 book for a good long stretch. But now you can see there's cheaper copies out there. Granted, condition may not be that great, but it's available if you want to get it. Now, moving on from my nostalgia picks, we're going to head on over for some video games. And for video games, these I knew existed. I just never bought them because I wasn't that interested in the comic, but I'm kicking myself for not getting them when they came out. And the comic and video game that I'm talking about today is Borderlands from IDW. This issue 1 had like 4 printings as well, and there's like a GameStop exclusive and incentive variants. These also do all have incentive variants, only 1 in 10s. We're going to get to that in a second. But first things first, Borderlands Origins 4-issue run. Like I said, this one has 4 printings. Surprisingly, these do all right. The reason why I went to Borderlands is because I got the most recent Borderlands game, which is kind of a Dungeons and Dragons style of a slant to it, and I was playing that for a little while, and that's what got me thinking about Borderlands and looking into it. And then I came across these comics and was like, oh, I do remember them. I probably should have bought them, because yeah, issue 1 could sell like around 15 bucks, and the set of 4 plus a little extra one can run 85. Those are recent sales, but the asking prices of what's actually out there now is what kind of drew my eye more. 25, 35, 55. And again, there's multiple printings on this one. I think there's 3 or 4 printings on this red covered one for issue 1. So keep an eye on that as well. As far as pricing goes, they're all pretty consistent. They're all pretty even. So it's not like one's cheaper than the next or one's super duper expensive over the other. It's kind of all in that same kind of range, I guess you would say. But that's issue 1. And it's 4-issue run, so we're just going to do all 4. Issue 2 is featuring Lilith here on the cover. This one, I found one copy that had sold recently for 26 bucks. 2 bids back in May. $10 shipping on that too. But outside of that, asking prices, 50 and 70 are the only 2 that I could find. So things started getting tougher as I started going through this run and these comics. I'm like, $50, $70 for issue 2. So just look in a box. Maybe you can find this for cover price if you can find Borderlands, whether it be in an IDW section, if they go by publisher, or just check the video games, Borderlands, like movie section. I don't know how your shop, breaks their books out. Look in a few different places, because it could be worth your time if you can find this cheap enough. So as you can see, issue 2 is one to pay extra attention to, you know, just in case. Then we also have issue 3 here with Mordecai. A couple copies sold on this one. What we got? $50 for issues 1, 3, and 4. Best offer on $11, and then issues 3 and 4 sold for only 18. All right, so a little bit cheaper there, but then also a little bit more expensive. Like I said, these prices could be inconsistent. Like sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. But what's out there right now, 16, $20 seems about right. Issue 3. This is not, I guess, the most desired one of the 4. So keep an eye out for it anyway, because you might want to complete that set. And the final issue, issue 4 here, is Brick. And this one had a few sales. As you saw, this was in a couple of those lots that we just looked at before. Like that $18 for the 2 of them. This is issues 1 and 4 down below. Best offer on $30. And then the single issue on its own sold for $22. Just June 11th, just two days ago. One of these sold for over $20 plus shipping. So that was issue 4, the final issue in the series. And if you want to go shopping for it, 15 to 35 seems to be the range. And those are a couple of options there at 35. So 15 to 35 bucks seems to be that kind of price range. You put that all together, this is like $100 set, if not more, 100, 120. So keep that in mind based off of these prices, I'm saying. So those are the regular covers, though. And as I mentioned, there are some variants for it. So I figured for our variant section, let's look at the variants for those 4 books, because these are only 1 in 10s. For this Hidden Gem series, I saved like the higher ratio incentives for Chasing Ghosts, but those lower ratio incentives, I put them here because you might find them in a regular back issue box, because whoever's organizing sorting books may not know the variants, because they may have them because it's a low incentive. If it's a 1 in 5, a 1 in 10, they could have 1 or 2 copies of the book and just think it's a B cover of some kind, or it's just the regular cover and it just gets filed away, tucked away in whatever cheap box, regular back issue box that might be out there, which is why I want to keep you posted on this. So that's why I try to keep these on the lower end of the incentives ratios when I'm doing variants on Hidden Gems. And these are, as I said, 1 in 10s. This is issue 1. Pretty different cover, pretty bright. You got a lot going on there. I kind of like it, all things considered. But this one, none have sold recently on this, so I couldn't get you a price as far as the market goes. But there is one out there, and it wants $150. So if you can luck into one of these at a shop, keep an eye out. You saw the regular issue 1 was that red cover. Keep an eye out for this issue 1. This is the RI. And that's how you can tell with IDW if it's the incentive. It says cover RI at the top. Otherwise, it will say cover A, cover B, cover sub, which is a subscription book, or RI, which is the retailer incentive in this case. So, and if there's multiple retailer incentives, they'll be followed up by like RIA or RIB, I believe. But that all said, issue 1, $150 is the only one that's out there right now. Issue 2, which is also 1 in 10, is also out there. And if you saw the prices on the regular issue 2, what do you think the prices are going to be on this one? Probably pretty high, right? That's what I was thinking. So not surprised to see one did sell, one bid at auction for $99 back in April, granted a little while ago, but that was the only one I could find that sold. And we do have a copy out there, and it's also asking $150. I think it's the same seller that's got the other issue. So $150 seems to be what they want for these 1 in 10s for Borderlands. So keep that in mind in case you can find these at your shop, digging in a box, and you find these 1 in 10 RI incentive covers, because could be worth your time. Could be worth your time if they are priced, at a decent price. I'm not saying anybody go pay $150 or $100 for this book. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you the pricing of the market. So if you do find it at a shop, you know where your wiggle room is. You know where you're at. This is a price that you want to pay or not. So that's why I'm giving you these prices and just letting you know about these books. So in case you stumble across it, because again, nobody's talking about Borderlands these days. I know there's supposedly some movie news or option news. Maybe it's a show. I think Kevin Hart is attached in some way. Maybe it's a production company. So yes, maybe we get something out of Borderlands, but I'm not hitching my wagon to that for the only reason to look for these books. Sometimes these are just fun books to go and look for and dig out. As I get through that, we got a couple more. Issue 3. Don't want to keep dragging on, saying the same things over and over again, but issue 3, 1 in 10, this Mordecai cover. One did sell recently and sold for cheap, all things considered. I would have paid $15 for this, even with the $10 shipping from Australia, so 25. Yeah, I might have paid 25 for this one. And the reason why I probably would have paid 25 for this one is because when you look at what's out there, They're asking $300 and $450 for this one. $300, $450 for this one. That's 10% off too on that $450 one. That was a $500 ask. But once again, probably not going to be easy to find. I don't know the print run numbers on these, but I got to imagine it's pretty low. So a 1 in 10 is going to be rather low as well. And with that, we have one more issue 4 for this series. Also a 1 in 10. Let's see what we got here. None sold in the last couple of months. So can't give you that market price, but there are a couple available and decent prices of 85 and $100. So yeah, bottom line, 4 incentive covers for 4 issues. These are all looking for at least $100 to a few $100s when you look at it. So depending on, I don't want to say depending on cover, irregardless of cover, they're all asking at least $100. So keep that in mind if you find any of them in a shop for a decent price. You find these at ratio, even double ratio, $20. I think you got to consider it for any of these personally, because I think the room is there to make yourself a few bucks if you want to, or I don't think you would have overpaid. That said, that's what I got for you this week. Hopefully you found that interesting. I know I kind of got off a little bit of tangents here and there, but I don't know, it's been a long week. It's been a long week already. I know it's only Monday, but it's been a long week already. But hopefully you enjoyed that, and hopefully you're still enjoying what I'm doing here on the channel. Thanks for stopping by and checking this out. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you all, supporting the channel. Let me know what you think, like I said, in the comments. If you know other books about Raza that I didn't cover, that I might have missed what his, their first work might be, just put it in the comment section and share it with the rest of the community, because I'm doing my best with my research, but I could be wrong here and there. I'll admit it. And if I am wrong, let me know. I'm not going to take offense if I get corrected. Just make sure if you're correcting me that you are correct too, because I don't want to waste time recorrecting a correction. That all said, thanks again. I appreciate you all. And now I got to get to work on chasing ghosts for tomorrow. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Bye.